That is
Okay,
all.
well,
I can do some more if you want.
No, that's great. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Okay, we are moving on to Councilman Mischins. I believe that you have an item for discussion.
I do. So Lynchburg City Schools recently adopted a policy regarding identification of sexually explicit instructional materials and the responsibility for parental notification. That was in response to a change in Virginia law. Overall, I think it's an excellent policy, and I applaud them for putting that together, but I think it can be stronger. I campaigned on empowering parents over their children's education and protecting the innocence of our children in schools. It's also within the purview of City Council to, when appropriate, make recommendations to the school board on issues related to the operation of public schools, just as my colleague and former mayor, Mary Jane Dolan, did on August 3rd, 2020 in a COVID-19 news conference when she called for Lynchburg City Schools to not return to in-person learning. The next day, the school board voted to depart from their original plan, and all K-12 students in Lynchburg City Schools started the school year remotely. Mary Jane did that on her own as mayor without a majority vote from City Council, and had quite the impact on our school system, from tremendous learning loss for our children to families permanently leaving Lynchburg City Schools and even moving out of the city. What I'm seeking today is a majority consensus from my colleagues to strengthen this new policy. It's well within our purview to do that and ensure parents' rights are a top responsibility of our school board alongside protecting the precious children of our community. Those in opposition to this measure are going to tell you that it's about book banning or censorship, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm not asking for any instructional materials to be removed. I'm simply asking the school system to use a time-honored tradition of requesting permission from parents instead of relying on implied consent to share material with minors that may contain, and this is right out of the policy, bestiality, lewd exhibitions of nudity, sexual excitement or sexual conduct, sadomasochistic abuse, coprophilia, or urophilia. And I'll warn you, if you look up the definition of those last two, you're going to be alarmed, because I was. I've spoken with both LCS teachers and parents since I've made this stand. This isn't about creating an additional administrative headache for teachers or staff. It's about giving the parents all the information up front, on the front end, like a menu, and they can choose what is acceptable for their child and what is not. It may be all, it may be some, or maybe none. The most alarming thing that I've come across in my research is what I've learned that some of these materials in our public schools contain. On the topic of sexual exploration, for example, about how sex apps work, in a quote, right? I'll paraphrase what the book said. Upload your picture, enable location services. The app puts you in touch with people nearby, chat with people near you, and because they are near, it's easy to meet them in person. That's a recipe for disaster. There's absolutely no excuse for this book to be in the hands of a minor without expressed parental consent or opt-in. In 2018, the NIH recognized that the use of smartphone dating apps has significantly created an emerging risk factor for sexual abuse. It's common knowledge that sexual predators use these applications to find and exploit minors. I cannot, in good conscience, have this knowledge about the risk of pedophiles preying on our precious community's children and not speak out on it. When taxpayer-funded material exists in our schools that would encourage and teach minors how to use these very apps that make them vulnerable to exploitation, implied consent simply does not cut it for me, many parents, and even staff in our schools. So I ask my colleagues, are you prepared to take a stand and ask the school board to strengthen this policy, which will actually empower parents and protect the innocence of the children in our community? I know I will. And if we prevent one child from getting exploited by a predator or even trafficked, like recently happened in Appomattox County with a local teenager, it was worth taking the stand. I know I wouldn't want to be the council member without my signature on this letter. So I have the letter here. I've already signed it, and I'll be passing it along the dais. And I would ask that after we receive these signatures, that you would transmit that to the school board.